welcome to Hospitality. My name is Stefan Zarnecki of Black Tie Tours. With me, as always, Wesley Jones of Tour Cascadia and Cole Rogers, local artist. And we are joined today by one of my very favorite Willamette Valley industry folks. She's a heartbroken Bills fan, a prolific dog lover, occasional pig wrangler, and hospitality powerhouse, Jillian Bradshaw of Beaux Freres.
Oh,
thanks for being
after
here.
a setup like that, I think I should just go.
No. The best is yet to come. So, Jillian, thank you for having us out at Beaux Freres. We appreciate that.
Oh, so happily. Yeah, especially at this point, you know, it's a quiet place, so it's nice to have some company for a moment.
That's right. I only saw one animal.
Yeah, just Penny, our kitty is around here.
She's
She
over
may have cameos. We'll see.
If Penny jumps up on the table, great. We'll just roll with it.
Yeah,
I'm totally good
there's
with that.
nothing else to do with it, so
Yeah,
good.
Exactly. We can.
Same thing when we have guests here. It's
Just
a wild card.
Yes, you
Yeah.
never know what's going to happen. Children and animals.
Yeah, this is a place that's very much still a farm.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
That's what I love.
Well, so Jillian, I have the pleasure of getting to see you almost every time that I come and visit, and so when people come and visit Beaux Freres, they'll get to hopefully meet you, and of course some of the other wonderful staff. But we'd love to hear a little bit more about your story. We're gonna get to Beaux Freres in just a little bit about how it came to be and the history and all the what. But I know you're not from here, right?
That's right. I hail from the great metropolis of Buffalo, New York, where I not only survived but thrived 4 Super Bowls as a child, which all I remember were great parties. Jim Kelly, number 12.
Kelly,
Thurman Thomas.
Yeah.
Bruce Smith.
Cornelius
Such good
Cornelius
teams.
Bennett.
Yeah.
Great team.
Those were great teams to play at
Oh.
on Tecmo Super Bowl.
Yeah, those are deep, great memories for me. All those parties were. There was a video unearthed recently by my Uncle Rob of me pretending to be Jim Kelly as a kid for an interview.
That's awesome.
I have lost my sports prowess, having moved out to the Northwest. I have no competitive spirit, except when the Bills almost get to the Super Bowl.
Honestly, when that was happening and you were posting on social media, I saw a side of you I hadn't seen before.
It's a very small slice of Jillian, Buffalo Jill, but
Bill's Mafia comes out.
yeah.
Buffalo Jill.
That's how I'll introduce you from now on.
Oh, good, yeah.
You got Buffalo Jill.
It's good to have a nickname. Can't we all agree?
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
that's very exciting. Okay, so when did you spread your wings and leave? Buffalo?
Well, I went from Buffalo to college in Boston. I studied journalism in Boston, and I met my now husband there, who's from McMinnville, Oregon.
Okay.
So that's how I made my way out to the West Coast. I don't think I could have pointed to Oregon on a map, having grown up playing Oregon Trail.
Yep, same.
Yeah,
Guilty.
so
Best game.
I had to unlearn a lot of
Hunting.
pronunciation.
I died of diphtheria
Oh, yeah.
most times.
I
Cholera.
spent way too much time hunting.
I just hunted, and then the rest of the game to me. didn't
Your
really
axles
matter.
broke because you had too much meat.
Yeah. And I'd only hunt the bears and the other big animals.
Yeah,
I
screw those
don't want a
squirrels. They were
squirrel.
too hard to hit.
No.
No meat.
Yeah, I was a vegetarian
I'm
those
not wasting my
years.
bullets.
So.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So you met your now husband, and he said,
You should come out west.
"Come out west."
Actually, I think he just went back to Oregon, and a year later, I came out.
you were like,
I followed. Yeah,
Why not?
Yeah, he's very handsome. So I.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So you came out west, and obviously your journalism career.
It was bad timing for that. Yeah. I studied photojournalism the last year that my college did darkroom photography. So I basically graduated and instantly was irrelevant because I had no digital skills. I've gotten a little better over the last years. But when I moved out to Oregon at first, I had a little introduction to hospitality in a big way because I worked briefly at a coffee shop and I met Jessica, the owner of the Painted Lady restaurant, and she invited me to be part of their, really one of the early days there. So it was 2005, 2006.
Oh, okay.
So I went to work at the Painted Lady for a year and a half before I had worked in any other hospitality setting.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah. So kind of trial by fire because that's a really high level of service to to tackle right out of the gate. And I was introduced to so many amazing Oregon wines there, the greats. And I did pop back out of hospitality to work in the nonprofit sector in communications, primarily at a children's mental health agency called Trillium Family Services, which was an incredible experience. But I live in wine country. I went out wine tasting all the time, and absolutely felt that it would be really fun to work events here and there. So I was invited to work events at the Four Graces, and still working in the nonprofit sector for years and years. I just work Thanksgiving and Memorial Day.
That's how we get our hooks into good
Totally,
people.
yeah.
Oh, just come out and help pour. Or it's the even better is, I'm desperate. I really need some help. And that takes the pressure off.
Yeah, right. Anything will do.
And then it kind of creeps in. And you start like, oh,
Very
this
much.
is kind of fun.
Yep, I started, just weaseled my way in that way. And then I worked part-time at the Ponzi Wine Bar when they were pouring wines from all over the Willamette Valley as well. But really, that's when I was introduced to Beaux Freres Wine. Andrew Turner over at the Ponzi Wine Bar, now Valley Wine Merchants, a favorite spot.
Yes.
He taught me about incredible wines, and Beaux Freres was one of them.
Sure.
And so I went from the Ponzi Wine Bar to hospitality manager at Adelsheim. And then I briefly left the wine industry when one of our customers at Adelsheim was Representative Blumenauer in Portland's 1st District.
Gotcha.
And he invited me to come be part of his political campaign.
Wow.
And since he always wins, it was a very attractive thing to, I've always wanted to just work for companies that you don't have to sell because they just are already
They're a winner.
successful.
Yeah.
That's
Fair
my
point.
strategy.
Yeah.
You can tell my work ethic. I worked for a congressional campaign for 3 months. It was agreed that it would be a trial, and it was absolutely the worst. Even though I agree with every single one of this particular politician's views, it's just, and this was 6 years ago, so it was, but it was already a mess.
What did you
And
end up
then-
having? What did you do?
So I ran congressional campaign events, fundraisers.
Okay. Gotcha. Event organization.
Yeah, when a congressperson has a birthday party, it's a fundraiser. So you're throwing birthday parties and things like that. He mostly would use those funds to support candidates that needed help.
Right, but you'd hire the clown,
Sure.
set up pinata, and
Exactly, or so to speak. Yes.
yeah.
But it was not fun. And then Beaux Freres actually had just at that time decided to have a year-round hospitality program. It used to be just open, first not open, and then Memorial and Thanksgiving for a long time, then just for the summer. And the year that I started in 2015 was when they started to take appointments all year. And I was just rabid for that job. I had become
They're a winner, right? You like working with winners.
I do, yeah. I mean, it's a wine that I felt I could really get behind so easily because
Easily, yeah.
clearly they've been doing it right for a long time.
Yeah. Awesome. And okay, so you've been here since
2015, yeah.
and you love it.
I love it.
Tell us a little bit more about Beaux Freres for those who don't know. So we have some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Michael, our founding owner, who's still very much our pirate ship captain, he was in the middle of the
That's an accurate
80s.
description.
Wouldn't you say?
I would say.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the middle of the 80s, he was a wine wholesaler in Colorado Springs, and just kind of on a wild hair, he read a review of a 1983 Elk Cove Pinot Noir and really wanted to try it. So hauls his little family on a road trip out to Oregon. This is Penny.
Hey, Penny.
There we go. That's content.
And essentially got distracted on the way to Elk Cove and end up checking out an 88-acre pig farm. And, they get to the old dairy pasture at the top of the hill up there, and it looks like, this has the look of a vineyard in his mind's eye. He just kind of saw it.
Spam.
Yeah, and he calls up his brother-in-law. That's where the name comes from. Beaux Freres, brother-in-law, and who was a wine critic who had a little bit of money saved up, and he said, "Can I have a loan. You can be my first co-owner in a vineyard in Oregon.
Robert Parker.
That's Robert Parker,
Yeah.
yep. And Robert and Michael's sister had already, they were high school sweethearts. They actually still live in the house that Michael and Pat, his sister, grew up in.
Oh, okay.
I think they've been married. They must be 45 years married now.
Total sweethearts.
Yeah.
Got to meet them both when I worked at the Elephant.
Oh, they are
We were there.
really not big personalities and very humble people. I think that's true of Michael as well. He's
Absolutely. I'd agree with that.
yeah. So yeah, they Michael and his brother-in-law had just planned to have a vineyard, but I think Michael was working harvest over at Ponzi Winery, and Dick Ponzi was kind of taking him under his wing, along with a lot of other greats of the Willamette Valley. And this is so early that you could get great advice from the top winemakers in the valley and take it and run with it. And Michael really did that. So it was pretty quickly apparent that they'd never make money without making wine. Keep that
Right.
fruit that Ken Wright was making a Beaux Freres Pinot Noir under the Panther Creek label. And Dick Ponzi was making a Beaux Freres wine, and it just was ideal timing to have a big idea and run with it. They brought on a third owner, so there were three gentlemen were the owners for 25, 30 years almost. And then recently the ownership has shifted. Michael's still our, boots on the ground captain, but we actually have an 8th generation Champagne family, Champagne Henriot. And we actually have a couple of other wineries in France that are partnered with us.
Wow,
We have
that's amazing.
Bouchard Perret and William Fèvre. And Michael and all of us are huge white Burgundy fans, and Bouchard makes Pinot Noirs that are the inspiration for the kind of things that we do. So it's just a very logical. We could have ended up in a number of different situations, but it's pretty ideal.
Now, was that third investor the Roy family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then Domaine Roy, that's Mark Roy, is the son of Robert Roy, who
Yep.
was the third co-owner of Beaux Freres for all that time.
Gotcha. What was that transition like? Getting small, everybody,
Yeah.
the family and everything, and then obviously.
Well, we
Get-
were all
getting that
very
fusion.
nervous
Yeah.
from top to bottom, and I was pretty much mostly in the tasting room at that time. We were so nervous, and I think that was a good way to get started, because we've been able to kind of relax as we go, knowing that it's pretty clear at this point that they became involved based on what we were already doing.
So it's not like they came in and wanted to change everything.
Exactly.
Right.
You could sort of only screw it up at a certain point,
Right.
you know?
I agree.
So I think there's a lot to be said for just the momentum and consistency, making the same good decisions over and over, and learning from mistakes along the way.
So who made the wine originally?
So in the 1991 or 1990, Michael made 1 barrel. 1991, he made 4 barrels.
Okay.
1992 was the first commercial release. He made 40 barrels. And he made the wine from that time until about, I hope Grant will correct me if I'm wrong. That's not cool.
Stay out of the water.
Grant Coulter made the wine, I believe, he started sort of as a associate winemaker in 2005, I believe.
Okay.
And in 2015, I think the transition from Grant to Mikey was about January.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay,
right
so-
around the time I started.
Yeah, so it's not like for a winery that's been around for, I'd say, quite a while. It's only had with the 3.
Yeah, Michael,
3
Grant,
winemakers, okay.
and now Mikey and Aaron Kendall. Aaron and I worked together over at Adelsheim before. I worked with Aaron and Tracy, who now makes wine at Nicholas J.
Yeah.
Absolutely, don't you think that's the fun of this industry?
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
who don't we know at a certain point?
It's the best.
Yeah.
There's nothing like industry people.
Yeah.
Nobody parties like industry
yeah.
people.
Yeah, L'Chaim to industry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll drink to
cheers
that.
to
Actually,
industry
speaking
folks.
of which, what are we drinking?
So this is the 2018 Beaux Freres Vineyard Pinot Noir. So this is, essentially, if we have one wine, this is the wine.
Okay.
This is from the vineyard that Michael started planting in 1988. And I think at this point it's 24 acres, started out as 5 acres. This wine, it's meant to be something that bends to the growing season. It's not meant for, perfect consistency. Hopefully the quality is always what you can rely on, but the character of the wine really does shift. And I think that's how they win.
I think people want vintage variation.
Yeah.
Well, and this is a wine,
Yeah.
this label in particular, I had the privilege of drinking in 96 from the Beaux Freres. And it still had some effervescence, a ton of life. So this is one of the wines that I reference whenever I talk about the ageability of Oregon Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
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 Kind of the standard.
It's,
In the 90s, they were made so that you kind of had to hold them.
right. Well, Mike talks about
Yeah.
his CO2 and SO2 usage.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to kind of see of his philosophy on a lot of that.
It's something I really had to learn about because we get a lot of questions about it, actually. That, I've even heard the winery referred to as Beaux Freres. The wines can have a little effervescence when you first open them, and that's because the barrels are super undisturbed the whole fermentation. And so CO2 is building up, and they're going to just leave it with the wine. They're not going to let it blow off before the bottling line. So our wines, in the finished wine, there's about half as much in the way of sulfites, but there's twice as much CO2. That's actually the preservative that we're relying on.
Right.
So that the wines age a long time.
Beautiful. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So people don't believe me when I tell them the 96 we opened was effervescent. Like, felt like a half sparkling wine in
Yeah.
the first 30 seconds
Right.
of the experience.
It,
Yeah.
it goes away pretty quickly.
I think vintage variation is good, but also having a style.
Right.
but yeah.
I think
Consistency.
people like that.
And reliability.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know,
Absolutely.
too, if I buy a wine from a place, how have they cellared it in the past?
Right.
If I'm buying
Sure.
a 2018 and I can reference a 96,
Yeah.
if stylistic preferences stayed the same, I know I could put this down for 10, 15 years
Right.
and not worry about coming back to it and it being dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it being true to the year. If it's, vintage variant, then it's going to actually taste like a 13 or a 12 or whatever you will sort of expected out of that year's weather.
Yeah.
I think that's really important for me,
Yeah,
at
it's a
least when I'm drinking wine.
timepiece.
I want to know the terroir of the year and the
Right.
space.
Right.
Well, and Beaux Freres is biodynamic, correct?
Yeah, we farm using a lot of biodynamic principles. We did pass the certification a few years back. I think Jessica Arnold was kind of managing our biodynamic efforts at that time and went through the whole certification process. And I believe that the decision was made to not get the emblem on the bottle because
Right.
it was just so expensive to do that
Right.
year after year. And we're not, I wouldn't say that we're rigidly biodynamic. Michael, it's very much where his heart is, and I'd say there are many ways that we believe in, biodiversity in the landscape. That's just healthy farming. Connectedness, feeling like from deep in the soil, through the roots, through the plants, the people, they should whistle while they work. That's Michael feels strongly that if you can whistle while you work, it'll make the wine better. But to the outer recesses of the universe, the stars and the moon cycles and the planets. So that is something that informs some of the practices around the winery. But it's not the one thing.
It's not the driving factor.
Yeah.
Right. But if you come, I know we're going to get into experience here pretty soon, but if you come late summer, early fall, you'll see like the thistles and dandelions
yeah.
drying, stuff we're getting ready for teas and
Yeah.
poultices.
Yeah, we all pick dandelions together. It's a very, what could be wrong with that?
Yeah.
Right.
It's the sort of farming strategy that encourages the people to enjoy themselves, and that I think is all what you
Sure.
need in wine.
Made with joy.
Well, and this is a
Yeah.
crew too that's had longevity within, certain portions of
yeah.
the cellar team and
Oh, yeah.
production team,
Which
is
which you
rare.
don't find all over the valley. So,
In this
Yeah.
industry, it's so incestuous. It's very hard to find places that
right.
Yeah.
have
Just have the same
solid crews
crew.
for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool to have been
Very
doing
true.
tours for 6-7 years and still coming back and seeing the same folks on a forklift.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Rogelio, I think, was maybe the first employee of the winery. And, I mean, the vineyard is his office. You know, that's his office. And Omar has been, you know, at least, I don't know, I guess he started in 2000. So those guys, I mean, that's where the work really starts. And Omar's our master mechanic, and that's, you know, hospitality is one thing, but actually, you know, making things happen for the wine, that's so great to have that longevity for sure.
So now
Right.
backing up just a hair, and speaking of effervescence, seeing as Beaux Freres has been acquired by champagne houses,
Yeah.
are there going to be some sparkling wines coming?
No, I would say not made by Beaux Freres. We do
Okay,
around the
okay.
holiday times import some of our French Brothers champagnes.
Okay.
And sell them around the holiday time. That is something that is so a whole other ball game, and we would want to do it at the level that we do things. And so I think our general consensus to date is that it would be a real distraction. If we ever do it, it'll be a huge thing. It will be a surprise to all of us.
Yeah, it takes a lot of space.
Yeah.
And it's a huge commitment, yeah.
And there are so many great sparkling wines being made in the Willamette Valley now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
I think
true.
it's very exciting to see it happening, and some high level ones for
Yeah,
sure.
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So when people book appointments or when we bring guests on tour or whatever, what would you kind of expect to see? What are some of the options? What are yeah? Oh, I know. I
And
know.
I mean, you could expect to see anything.
yeah, anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, please, I hope that there are videos out there that become unearthed over time, but the variety of experiences that people can have here is so dynamic. So it really depends. You know, our facility, we're in the old pig barn. Above our heads is the office and the old hayloft. Fermentation happens in the space right behind us when that time comes, but in the meantime, it's kind of a barrel and case goods storage. But the cellar is right through the door, and this area is just part of the mix.
It's the hub.
Yeah. You know, I think the winery has had drawings made for fancy tasting rooms perennially, like every 3 years or so. Some elaborate design is presented by some ambitious, beautiful architect. and over we say, but why? People are having so much fun. You know, just why would we want to separate ourselves into something? There is, you know, Michael has his project going on down the road. He's building a winery for Sequitur, which is his, Michael and Carrie Critchlow, his wife, have Sequitur Vineyard.
Right.
And they're building a winery where it could be a very exciting space to extend some of what we do, but they may decide to open a Sequitur tasting room there.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll, you know, get to keep everything fomenting cool stuff and have other spaces available. But this right here, I don't think you can outdo some of the wacky things that people see happening. Well, partly it's because, especially at harvest time, this is a gurgling cauldron of just fermentation and flesh. I mean, we do everything by hand. So, I mean, they're literally stirring fermenters up by hand a lot of the time. And so, I mean, people love it. You know, it's wild.
Hands-on. And
Yeah.
you can request a more hands-on experience. You guys have the vineyard tour.
Yeah.
And is it two levels of tasting? You've got the standard
Yeah,
tasting?
we have our classic tasting, which is a really great introduction to what we do. You know, it's 35, 45 minutes, maybe an hour if you ask great questions. It's right down here. We usually open 4 wines. Currently, we're really trying to build our Chardonnay program. We've got this awesome Chardonnay that people don't really know that much about. So we're always pouring our Chardonnay, always this wine, because if you come to Beaux Freres, you have to taste the Beaux Freres Pinot Noir. But we also pour some of our little vineyard designates that are more rare little tangents to what we do.
Little projects.
Yeah, yeah. beautiful vineyards that are maybe not our home turf, but things we admire.
But then for what, like $75 or something like that, you can
Yeah.
do the vineyard tour.
Yeah, our vineyard tour, it is kicked up to $100 now.
Still a bargain.
Yeah, still a bargain. If you buy
absolutely worth
wine,
it.
you don't have to pay for the tour fee. So
There you
hey, enough wine, I should say. Asterisk.
Yeah.
Well, so we have two options. It's, if you want to get your heart rate up, we'll take people on a good little hike up to Beaux Freres Vineyard. I guess it's more of a workout if you're talking the whole time, which is usually me.
It's steep.
Yeah, it's steep.
It's a steep
It's a
hill.
hefty walk.
But we did
Yeah,
get a souped up golf cart now, so we do
Nice.
golf
Yeah.
cart tours up there,
That's
rain or
fun.
shine, really. Currently, we're not really doing tours because it's not so hospitable to have people walking, and the golf cart's a little close quarters.
Yeah.
So, but once we get back into nice weather, we'll encourage people to walk up there with us. And we're planting a new vineyard. At the edge of Beaux Freres Vineyard, there's this rocky road down to a new property that's in between this property, Beaux Freres and the winery, and Upper Terrace and Sequitur. There's about a 21-acre property in between that, you better believe Michael's had his eye on that for a long time.
Gotcha.
And Mr. Fernandez just decided to sell it recently. And so, again, like a velociraptor, definitely got excited about that.
That's
And now it's just a grassy knoll at the moment. But it'll be Pinot Noir and Estate Chardonnay.
That's cool.
Sweet.
Yeah,
That doesn't sound too bad.
not at all.
Good.
Yeah,
Good. All right. Come visit Beaux Freres.
please do.
All right. Moving on. So, royalty is part of why we're here, because the Etzel, I would say the Etzel family is Willamette Valley royalty. And I know that's kind of a loaded term. Like, what is the definition of wine country?
Right, we
royalty?
argued about this in the text thread.
We argued about it in the text thread preparing for tonight, but I wanted the reason why I want to discuss this is because I think it's an interesting conversation to have,
Right.
as far as who are those people that if you would take that word royalty, what families kind of come to mind.
Right.
And for me, when I think royalty, I think heritage as part of the term,
Right.
kind of being wrapped up into it. And so I think of second generation winemakers and that kind of thing. So, and of course the tree as well, whether that's children, but then also winemakers that kind of come off of it. So Beaux Freres is, it's got to be way up there because of course they've been here a long time, but then you've got Mikey as a second generation winemaker, and you've got Jared over at Domaine Noir as a winemaker, second generation, you could call it.
Yep.
But anyway.
Yeah, Grant Coulter.
And then Grant is off of that winemaker tree
Right.
as well. So, I think when you're talking royalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Steve Goff too, at Colleen Clemens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, this is good. This is
Yeah,
good.
I mean, phenomenal wines coming out of that winery as well, and he's
Good scores, good wines.
yeah.
Yes.
What's up?
And we're forgetting a bunch, I think.
Well, we would.
Probably.
Oh, as far as this
I
family.
don't know. I feel like
Effective.
there's a lot of really
folks who have come out of this.
Talented
I'm sure
folks
people
out
can
there.
chime in if they,
Yeah. Yeah.
feel-
yeah.
Well, and there's a
Scorches
really
in the
interesting
comments.
conversation between like that royalty or folks who, even the next generations, have kind of continued to earn their place and nepotism.
Yeah.
Right.
Like there's a handful that are second generation, but are kind of relying on the name, right? We won't get into those. That's not what we're about right now. But it's, like we mentioned Ponzi's earlier, and just the early folks that came out of Dick's tutelage.
Ponzi kind of
Yeah.
went a direction with larger production. There are
Sure.
some good wines and everything, but it's
Yeah.
obviously not the way it started. Started very
Right.
small.
But you look at the
know.
ripple effect of the folks that came out of those
Yeah.
early days.
Mhm.
It's pretty impressive. You look
Yeah,
at,
absolutely.
the Rex Hills and Twalton Family Vineyards, those kind of folks. We wouldn't have some of the really big names that have been making wine for 18, 20 years if it wasn't for
Yeah.
some of those early.
And I would say for the Ponzi family as well, in a very Italian tradition, there is something for everyone in that portfolio. I mean, they have made such cool dessert wine, and they've made that cool like a kid's sparkling juice. They've made beautiful Pinot Noir and Chardonnay and Pinot Gris, and it's kind of a portfolio that
And
I think of that as an Italian thing.
And a lot of that stuff you can only taste in the tasting room.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, or in wine club, you're not going to taste it, in
On
Texas,
the national
Florida,
market.
Right.
North
Right.
Carolina, whatever, So
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a different situation. So other royalty that
Yeah.
where would you
Well,
go, Cole?
of course, working for Cody Wright, I got to learn all about his
Oh, yeah.
experience being around wine literally from the day he was born and growing up in a winery. His dad is Ken Wright, obviously, who started Panther Creek.
Yeah.
Now is Ken Wright Cellars.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cody's stepdad owned, and his mom owned Rocco Winery. So his stepdad's Roland Souls.
Of Argyle.
Of Argyle originally, started Rocco later on. But he's sort of the Bubbles guy in the valley, or one of the staples
Yeah.
of Bubbles in this valley that
Yep.
sort of started, kicked
I would
it
say
all
he
off.
got
Oh, yeah.
the bubbles started.
I get
Yeah,
him.
sort
I
of the
give him
standard
credit.
bearer of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Cody being, I got a really cool experience working for Cody and learning from not like necessarily his winemaking techniques or anything, some sort of secret special, family secrets, but just learning about the familial aspect of growing up in a winery and what it takes to run a winery. And it's like just working, like kind of like Stefan working in a restaurant or with your dad owning a restaurant. It's just part of what you do in a family. And,
Yeah.
and off your point with, people either taking it on or sort of not so much wanting to be a part of the work. Cody's a guy that just chose to see what his dad's hard work was worth what he got out of it. And it's such a rewarding career. And even though he knew he'd probably work 80, 90 hours a week as a
Right.
winemaker all the time,
Work
literally,
ethic. Yeah.
he loves it. So I think it's cool to see
Yeah.
that like true in his blood.
Right.
Yeah.
When that's what they do, and has just as much inspiration from Roland too, and,
Oh, yeah.
and Corby doing what they're doing in a totally different way.
Yep.
But super both of his sort of role models in wine are so strong in their opinions about how they want to do things, and so different about how they do things that it's cool to see him sort of see his favorite things out of those things, learn from that, and then create his own path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I add one that I think gets a low profile and deserves the royalty?
Yeah.
Marsh
for it.
family,
Yeah.
Arterbury
Oh,
Marsh,
yeah.
Marsh
Good call.
family.
Amen.
I mean, I think they very much in a sort of similar sense to how Michael and the Beaux Freres thing have evolved. They are, rustic and raw and making
Yeah.
wines that are world class.
Yeah.
World class wines.
And doing it their own way.
I mean, I think Jim Marsh, now he has baby Jimmy, so we have to call Jim
Oh, good.
Jim.
Yeah.
We still have Grandpa Jim too, which
Right.
is amazing. I think is he one of the first third generation winemakers in Oregon?
Yeah. One of the
So,
first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and always, really. I mean, I met him when he was a much younger guy, and he wasn't always didn't have the humility that he necessarily has as a grown dad now. But didn't we
But who
all
does?
start out a little?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's so. I mean, Jim and Alex and Martha and Steve. That family that's like Oregon Dundee royalty.
Royalty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially Dundee.
Thank
royalty.
God for our prefrontal cortex is finally finishing.
Right.
Yeah, I was a butthole until a few years ago. So
Yeah.
now I'm
yeah.
a saint.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's,
but you've grown out of
10
that.
years
Mhm.
behind everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the Sokolblosser family is a
Oh,
really
yeah.
neat one to
Yeah.
bring into the conversation.
Yeah.
You have Susan, just an absolute legend.
Right, and she's so active in the community.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Well, and she's not above anyone else. It's
Yeah.
having the privilege of driving her on a number of occasions. She'll talk to you where you're at. She'll answer your questions.
Yeah.
She'll offer you encouragement. She texted me the day after the drive, like, "Hey, I really appreciated that part. Like, thanks for the podcast recommendation."
Very
So
cool.
it's just a killer family, and Allison is an absolute sweetheart. She's of the kids, she's the only
Sharp.
one that I've interacted with.
Yeah.
But
No, Allison is super sharp, and I think she's co-president or something like that of their board or something to that effect. And again, also kind of gets out there, following in her mom's footsteps, and being involved in the community.
Right.
And Alex is fantastic as well.
Yeah.
so
He's-
personable.
He's so personable. He's a hoot. Like their stuff, like their brother sister stuff on like their social media,
Yeah.
is wonderful. Like I
That
really
was the
enjoy
talk
that.
of our staff meeting this morning.
Yeah?
Michael
Really?
was telling us, you all have to go watch Alex Sokolblosser.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
he's got
Yeah,
a
it's
great
cool.
like camera presence.
I haven't
He'd be a
seen it
hell of
yet,
an
but-
interview. Alex, you're not watching, I know, but
We'll get you on.
that'd be fun to have you on. Actually, if we could get Alex and Allison
And Susan.
and Susan arguing and like,
Do
'cause
a
do you
whole-
remember
do a
that the same way I do?
royalty
I don't
series.
think I do. Like
Yeah.
those are great conversations.
I'll step off camera to open up a mic. Let's get him on.
There we go. I think we could do that. So definitely Soccer Blossers. I put them there. Let's see. Who else do we have as? The Lett family.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, we can't
of
have
course.
this conversation.
I mean,
without
OG.
the lads.
You know, David Lett being the OG, and of course Jason following the footsteps. But also the way they embrace the history. If you
Right.
go over there to Irie, they
Right.
just they really love sharing that Oregon vibe and sharing the history, and they, you know, when they have an audience in
Yeah.
front of them, you know, that wants to know about that stuff, they really shine.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then of course the library is
Stunning.
unreal.
Well, and they test
Oh,
any
man.
wines before they send you home with them.
Yeah.
They'll do a little sample.
That's so cool.
If you guys haven't watched the Oregon Wine Library put together by Linfield,
Oh.
it's a little bit on the dry side. It's not going to be as entertaining as we are, but it's
What would be?
so
Not much.
so educational. And there's
Yeah.
videos from David, and then a few years later, Jason.
Yeah.
And those have been just so fun for me to
There's
go
a lot
back.
in
When
there.
when it comes to like what I dive into to be an excellent host, like watching those conversations have
Yeah.
sort of inspired some of my research and
Absolutely.
the ways in which I hold conversations with my
it's,
guests.
a, it's a
Sure.
great resource to have.
Yeah. OPB did a great documentary called
Yeah.
Grapes of Place that
Yep.
I thought was, I mean, I don't know, it's hard to say. I'm so close to some of the people who are in these stories and I'm a total sap, so I'm like crying my way through it.
Yeah.
But I think lots of people would find it really just heartwarming.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Amityville Hills has some royalty themselves.
Sure.
The Castillo family.
Oh,
Castillo
yeah.
family, Downtown
Is-
Heights.
They've done so
Second
many
generation.
innovative things,
Yeah.
as far as how we are able to operate in the way we are now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a
Yeah.
huge
And I
Bethel-
think they get a little bit forgotten because they're down there.
Yeah.
right,
And then of course Elk Cove, the Campbells.
right.
Again,
Oh, yeah.
they're kind of out of the way.
Right.
And
Yeah.
But honestly, sometimes when people come in and are scheduling a tour and they're like, "Oh, I want to go to Elk Cove," I'm like, "Oh, you know."
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Right.
I will, I'll tell them, "Oh, it's a bit of out of the way. It's an amazing spot and everything." They're like, "Yeah, no, we get it."
Yep.
Yep.
It's like,
But if you get Elk Cove and Big Table Farm in the same tour,
Yeah.
it's
oh, it's a hell of an
people
Are
afternoon.
they
doing
even
the
doing
research.
tastings at the farm anymore?
I don't think since COVID.
Yeah, we'll
It's
have to
been a while.
Check back in.
They have that Carlton tasting room.
Right.
But I think the plan is
I know.
to, and I can't speak for Claire because Claire will kick my ass if I'm wrong.
Never
She will
speak
take
for
you down.
Claire.
I will not
She
speak
will
Claire
for Claire.
speaks for
out.
Claire.
They
The
may or
roundhouse
may
kick.
not open back up on the farm.
There you go.
Well,
Gotcha.
Call them.
I
Claire's
vote that
Claire's
they
a third
do.
degree black belt. I know better than that.
She's in everything. What
Yeah.
is Claire not?
She's a
an
Renaissance woman.
amazing
She's a
powerhouse.
artist.
She's a
Yeah.
powerhouse.
She's
I
a
want to be
powerhouse.
Claire when I grow up.
there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, I mean, and again, if you guys have any comments, please post that on the Facebook stream, message us or whatever. Who are we leaving out? Probably lots.
Oh my God, we're leaving out so many people.
But
So
yeah, no,
many.
I mean, there's a lot more.
Yeah.
These are just some of the ones that kind of.
Yeah.
Stood out.
I mean, just
come
off
to
the
mind
top of
and-
my head, I know that we left out a cool up and coming winery called Pray Tell and Jessica Arnold, who I think now is Jess Caruso and Tom Caruso. That's a label that we should watch out for. That is part of the Beaux Freres University.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Um,
All right.
Man, I hate even getting into conversations like this because the Willamette Valley is such a
That's why we brought you on.
dense thicket of talent.
Oh,
Yeah.
You
I know
know?
it'd be fun to we could do a whole episode.
We're gonna get
Just
stuck in
dive
those
in-
brain
dive
Well,
in.
and there's a lot of places I would say that
Yeah.
now are sort of getting the younger people that are establishing
Yeah.
themselves still. Well,
Sure.
we're Cody's like killing it, So
Oh
I'm-
my
we're-
God,
you know,
yeah.
and or Jared,
Yeah,
or
th-
Mike,
but these
they're-
little hidden gems that are
They're
gonna
coming.
pop
Oh,
out.
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
But-
We could do an entire episode on like assistant winemakers or
right.
cellar folks
Oh,
that
man,
have gone on
yeah.
to make
Yeah.
their own
Start
garage
people
wine
Yeah.
5-6
Oh,
years
man.
later.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would
Love that.
John Paul, the
Yeah.
John Paul tree.
Oh yeah.
With Jay
Right.
and Jay.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
and even
Yep.
JP
Yeah.
Pierce from Ponzi.
when we
His
give so
JP
much love to Grant and Renee Coulter,
Oh yeah.
but that's not even his main day job.
right.
Right.
That's their side project.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. let's move on. Speaking of side jobs, Westco Wine update.
Speaking of Dark Horse,
We're up and coming.
elite brands coming
We
out.
haven't been in
Elite
anyone's
brands.
cellar, but this brand is up and coming.
Yeah, I don't know if you know about our project. Probably not.
We're making wine.
I know a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right. A
yeah.
wine project.
From our illustrious social media presence, or
Just a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. We're just busting
Like
out
I
all
said,
over.
I'm not so.
Well,
frequent
you know,
with
we're,
flyers.
you know, we only have a podcast about it, so
Sad.
so I can
It's not like we're trying to
update.
let people know or anything.
salty.
I can update. Figured out which license I need to apply for with TTB, which is you'd think that'd be easy, but it ain't. So I read through everything, and then I went, okay, Megan, my wife. Okay, what kind of license do I need? Read this stuff, and she reads through it because her reading comprehension is far above mine, and she's much faster. And she read through it. She couldn't figure it out. So I went to the big man, one Chris Berg, and he said, "No, this is what you need. You don't mess with that. We'll just do this, and you can always change it later and whatever." He took. It was great just
Chris
to have.
asks like federal agents are just like selling you Bibles at your doorstep.
Yeah.
It's like whatever. Like you'll be good. You'll be good. When we talked to him initially about these licenses, it's like, well, I mean, he's
figure it
true.
out.
It's right, but the way he talks about it, it's so casual. We're like, okay.
Like,
I
no,
know,
this
and
is
it's
really
stressing me
serious.
out.
He's like, I know.
But we
just
love
do
you,
that.
Chris. We love that you do that. It calms us all down.
It
I'm
does.
just saying.
It
I can't
does.
see you're so calm. He's so calm all the time.
Yeah, and then once he told me which license to get, the winery license, my wife was like, "Okay, boop, 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 here you need all this," and then I broke down, and then I didn't do anything else for.
We forgive you,
about
dude.
5
You've done a lot of stuff.
So that's where I'm at. I don't think I had anything else. I've frozen on the paperwork, but
We're getting there.
The progress made.
Yeah.
So
Progress.
Progress.
We only have till the end of March
Progress.
to have everything
Yeah.
approved. So it's it is what it is.
shut up.
We have plenty of time. If we just do things.
The wine's
every
just gonna
single
get
day.
better.
And our bank account is
It's
going to
sitting
keep
in a
being
barrel,
empty.
I mean,
sitting in
Yeah.
barrels at Roots.
Aged
right
in
now.
like a
Hey.
fine wine.
There you go.
That's a term for reason. We've also been working on the logo quite a bit. Mostly just sketches, trying to put together images that we like and concepts that we like, and we think we come up with something that is pretty slick. We'll put a little preview of it up and see what you guys think. Just got to get Wesley's little figure figured out on the.
If you can make my butt a little bigger, I'd
Well,
appreciate it.
actually,
It doesn't have to be
did-
totally
I
realistic.
put you
I would
facing
really.
forward for a reason because that was impossible to even make a bubble.
Wait, which one is mine?
I'm built like a green
You're right in the
bean.
center, dog.
I'm in the center. Does it have a little pot belly?
No, man.
Okay.
I made us all. I tried to make us all like look good. I mean, I'm not gonna be like,
doing
okay,
the best
step
for
on
all
I
of
the-
us.
won't blame you. The one on the left looked like Trump, so that's why I was like,
Bro, that was me.
you gotta adjust that.
I'm a lot thinner and a lot shorter than Donald Trump. Plus, my
I know.
hair is
There's
not, like,
something
flowing.
about. There's something about.
There's
the-
nothing. I'll show you guys. You guys will literally be like, "What the fuck is Stefan talking about?" Because it looks like a clean looking dude in a suit that's got a short
looks-
haircut.
it looks good.
And who's
I'm on the far
maybe
right.
2 inches taller than
My
I
family
actually am.
agreed with me.
But
I'm the very good looking asparagus looking fella.
That sounds about right with no butt.
I made Wes real thin because he
More
is.
bagels.
You know, I'm trying. I'm doing
Yeah.
my best.
No, I love the look. Kind of Reservoir Dogsy.
It's a reservoir dog kind of
It
with
looks
some bright
slick.
colors.
You'll see it. I've by now I've already put it up on the screen for the later.
Absolutely.
But you audio listeners, you'll just have to go check out the website
Yeah.
or something. Or, wait, not the website.
Bank account's done. Ready to go.
Yeah, we got the bank account. Oh, and Patreon. We got the Patreon all set up. So there'll be a link on all the YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And gosh, and you can just go there and donate if you want. We still have to develop the Patreon a little bit. Like, hey, if you donate, what do you get?
Right.
What do you get extra? And right now, extra sounds to me like more work. So we have to kind of
We have to figure it
flesh
out.
that out a little
Right.
bit. But we like giving people extra. We just want to make sure that we don't overpromise.
Well, we want the quality to be what we what we say it's going to be.
Yeah.
So we're not going to say we're going to give you extra content and then put out some
Right.
cheap.
So for now, if you're just feeling generous, feel free to just give us money. But if you want more content, maybe you can always just shoot us some ideas if you want. That's good too. But
Yeah, we're working
again,
on
we're
it,
just
yeah.
kind of making our
We'll
way
take
through all
mine.
this. I don't know. Have you
One
ever done a
thing at a time.
Patreon?
No.
Yeah. no,
I
there's
don't
a
even
weird
know what
world.
that means.
Again, this is another thing that
It's
I
like a
kinda
donation platform
had to stay
where folks can,
gotcha.
you know, pledge a couple bucks
Help
bucks
you
a
out.
month, and
Give you a little lift.
yeah,
Well,
in
you know,
that
we pay
direction.
for all this equipment
Yeah.
and haven't really gotten
provide
much more
tantalizing
back.
Yeah.
tantalizing
yeah.
media.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much more gear I'd love to buy, but you know, we're getting there. We're getting there.
It's a pretty pro setup, I would say.
Thanks.
Thanks.
You know,
Yeah.
little
Thank you.
Amazon, little I think eBay and whatnot, and we do
It's
it.
a heck of a lot better than it was when we started.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
the GoPro set up in the garage.
That was miserable.
Good stuff.
Oh.
Good stuff. All right. How about the Hospitality Sports Minute?
60 seconds. Let's go.
Cole.
Well, we watched big pay-per-view on Saturday night. Conor McGregor got his ass kicked by Dustin Poirier. It was
Wait, we watched 2 of 5 fights.
Well,
On
we'll
the-
get to that. We're
That's
gonna
the
get to
brutal
that.
one. But yeah,
Okay.
we watched the
Oh.
pay-per-view. We watched the main 2 fights. And yeah, it was good. It was a good event actually. It was cool to see Poirier, the good guy, win.
We
And,
like Poirier.
Yeah, I thought it was an awesome fight actually. I enjoyed it a lot.
He's got a really cool nonprofit called Fight for the Forgotten. Mm-hmm. So go check that out.
Yeah, and he's just a good, cool cat.
Yeah.
Good guy. I like Dustin Poirier a lot.
Been with
Yeah,
his wife
I was
since middle
stoked.
school.
I was stoked to see Dustin win, and I was stoked to see Connor lose.
Kind of,
Connor is good for the sport. I never want him to like retire or anything.
but I want him to lose every
But you know,
single
some
time.
of these people that are just so naturally talented at things, you just want to see them lose sometimes.
Well,
Like,
I
you
never
know,
liked a guy that had like a really quick wit and was good at making fun of me. And I feel like Connor embodies the guy who's just like a little bit faster than everyone in the room. You know,
Yeah.
he can just make fun of you, and it's
just needs to
easy.
get his ass kicked.
Like when
sometimes.
me and you used to work together all the time at Gallup.
Yeah, I hated you. It's fine. I'm a little.
for sure.
I've forgiven him since,
No,
but
I agree. Like he's such a it needed to happen for the sport, but just like seeing Ronda Rousey get her ass kicked by Holly Holm, it was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like that's what this sport's about. Is that there's no person that can walk around like they're bigger than the world. You can until
You got to
get
watch
in the
every
cage,
fight.
and
You
then
got to
you
watch
get your ass
no
kicked.
nothing. You can't take anything for granted.
And he's got,
You know.
and also the other thing is it's hard to get motivated when you wake up on silk sheets. I think he's been not a victim, but he's been somebody that's proven.
Well, victim of his own success.
No matter how hard you
Yeah.
work once you're there, it's still different to be not that guy and to be the guy that's fighting that guy
Right.
and to go after that success.
Making all the fatty cash off of proper.
I mean, props to him for still
everything.
showing up and fighting after $100 million
no, I give
payday
him
from-
100% respect, and but it is refreshing to see somebody like that lose because the sport is the sport for a reason. It's like anybody
fighting.
can lose, and there's nobody bigger than
It's
it.
great to watch hungry young fighters come up
Yeah.
and keep winning.
And hungry old fighters like Poirier, who's
Yeah.
been around for a little while.
For sure.
All right.
But still young.
So, your
Oh.
Buffalo Bills. I didn't watch the game.
It was not.
But what happened,
Not a
Jordan?
fun game to watch.
We
What
got
happened?
outplayed a little bit, I would say. Not for lack of heart. I mean, I think in terms of football culture, the city of Buffalo, that's the winter is for the Bills, and it's die hard in any season. But to get so far, I mean, it's been so long, and to get so far in such a hard time, the scene is so ready for a Super Bowl party, you know?
For sure.
Was this a sign of things to come? The run they went on, or is it just a dream? You think
Oh
it-
no, they're.
no.
Oh, Josh
I think-
Allen's one of the top
I
5
think
quarterbacks
they
in
are
the NFL.
on their way up.
Stephon Diggs is the
Absolutely.
real deal.
Yeah.
Josh Allen,
They
Stephon
have just
Diggs
got
are
the heart, and
good
they're going to
pickup.
follow it up with absolute tenacity. And I think they did us all a favor in Buffalo not playing in the Super Bowl during COVID,
Oh.
because Buffalonians are going to have
They're gonna show up.
parties. They're going to have deep parties. And so it's better for that to hold off until after.
They got it next year.
Next year.
Next year. There's
Next
always
year in Buffalo.
There you go.
Next year in Buffalo. Next year in Jerusalem.
Exactly. You caught it.
I'm with you.
Once Justin Herbert improves a little bit, though, it's going to be tough to get through the AFC.
Well, we know the AFC Championship game is
only
obviously going to be Bills.
Josh Allen's size.
Oh,
Bills
man.
Chargers. So, and I'm going to talk a little baseball. I don't know if you guys follow baseball at all.
cares?
Baseball, I do.
Oh, I thought that said MLS. Does it say MLB?
Oh, rub the B got a little
Okay.
rubbed on there. No, so
sports I care
nobody
about.
is getting. There is no Major League Baseball Hall of Fame class this year.
Oh.
Nobody. You have to reach
so into it last
75%
year.
of the votes to. It's voted on by the writers,
Yeah.
Major League Baseball writers, and nobody got. The closest guy was Kurt Schilling. He was just a few votes off. I think he was.
Did
like
you see
70
Cano talking shit to him?
Cano? Robinson
yeah.
Cano?
Yeah.
I did not.
I would
But
have thought Schilling would have made the Hall of Fame, honestly.
He
I
said-
don't like the guy, but
Cano said something about like how he's an embarrassment to the
cheating
sport. Yeah, and Schilling responded with, "You were juicing the whole time, and I still wiped your ass."
I mean, okay, so Kurt Schilling.
Kurt Schilling deserves to be in the Hall of
here's
Fame.
It's people think he didn't get in because
Cheating.
he's
The blood
not,
thing, I mean.
No,
The
not as
whole-
much as the cheating. There were other guys on the ballot, Barry Bonds, and
Barry Bonds.
Rob
he's
somebody
fair.
else.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
on there because he's like
a
a
dick.
Trumper, white supremacist. Not a white supremacist, but he's
Let's not throw everybody in that.
no. I
basket,
know, but
but
he's made some comments publicly. Well,
right-wing-
anti-Black Lives Matter. Like he's
That
made
doesn't
some.
make you a
I-
white
no,
supremacist, but yes, I agree with you.
I backed off.
He's a Trump supporter.
Yeah, but he's made some controversial comments
Okay, there you go.
that people didn't like, and so they think that he got knocked down because of some of that. And I have mixed feelings about that. Like,
Right.
okay, maybe the guy's a dick, and I don't agree with whether it's politics or just being a dick. Like sometimes you're just a dick, politics or no. But does that keep you out of the Hall of Fame?
I mean, if that's
Shouldn't-
the criteria that they're using,
That's
what's,
the thing.
It's
This criteria was
crowdsourcing.
set up in the 30s
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
when they didn't even allow African Americans to play in the major leagues, and you're going to have this rule. So I find it an interesting conversation. Nobody got in because of the juice, but also potentially this character clause they call it. So
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think Barry
Pete
Bonds should be in the Hall of
Rose
Fame. To be
and-
honest with you,
I think we
it's
should free Pete
ridiculous.
Rose.
Well, how do you start?
Pete Rose
how
for
do you
sure should be in the
decide
Hall of
what
Fame.
character is? You know,
it's a
it-
slippery slope.
yeah.
Right? Who?
Well, and it's based on how we view character
Whose
in the
character?
moment.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, whose standard? The
Well, and
Christian
did your-
Bibles or,
Right.
And even with Barry Bonds, I guess you could say his character issues, made the game look bad. So they reflected badly on MLB, and
Sure,
and
that
that
makes
sense.
sense,
That I
yeah.
guess they're going to keep out of the Hall of Fame. Even though I think he's maybe the greatest player of all time. He probably
He
should be in
might
the Hall
have
of
been
Fame.
before he juiced.
Before he
was
juiced, he
amazing.
probably was
yeah.
maybe he would have been the most consistent player of all time. But anyways, I think that with this stuff, it's just the world we live in now. Everyone, there's the sort of like character test.
Yeah.
Right.
And can we cancel you altogether, or do we just have to cancel part of your life?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Right.
slippery
The guy did it-
slope.
But I mean, if you are the one that's breaking the home run record from Hank Aaron, and you juiced,
Yeah.
then like screw you.
Disqualified.
Like,
Well, but I mean,
Well, there's
if
two
everybody
different-
else in the league is doing it, then you're like,
Yeah.
well, I guess
Yeah.
I should just do it.
Well,
I mean, there's
exactly.
well, maybe we
we
do a
don't
whole
understand.
separate show just
Yeah.
on this, but
It
But I
definitely
think it's
diminishes
ridiculous.
your wins.
right, exactly. So anyway, I found that interesting, and that is our sports minute.
this is why we do Sports Minute, because we can fight about it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you guys don't even
It
care
is
about
what it is.
baseball.
I hate
I
baseball.
I definitely don't care.
No, I like baseball. I'm a Phillies fan, but pain. Okay, so what's been brutal? What's been beautiful? Wesley,
My
condolences.
one of my best buddies in the world,
Aw.
our first dog died this week.
No.
So that's brutal.
Oh,
so
that's
Tell us about Presley.
Mr.
brutal.
Presley. We
Tell
rescued
me
him
again.
the first year we got married.
Oh, stop it.
And he was
I'm
an
gonna have
emotional
to step
support
away.
animal and partner to my wife.
Yeah.
He had one stomach surgery before, and we had some work done on the house, and the contractors left a rubber glove out,
No.
and he ate it.
Oh,
And in the
no.
process of throwing it up, it like twisted his
No.
innards, and we took him in for emergency surgery, and he had a heart attack post surgery, and never woke up.
Oh.
But he went painlessly.
Yeah.
But man, we're gonna miss that little guy.
Yeah, he was a handful, but a
He could be
sweet handful.
he was a dog, so he's a pit mix.
Yeah.
And we have an old fence that separates my house from Stefan's.
Yep.
He learned
You should
when
see
he
the
was-
bottom of that fence.
When he was a puppy, he could put his lower jaw underneath the 1x4s and snap them off to the lower bracket.
Adorable.
If he could do that twice, he could
Yeah,
just slip right underneath
right.
the fence. And
Which
so
he
the
did.
whole fence looks like a shark took bites out of it
Yeah.
all the way down.
We had to put boulders.
There's boulders and
stumps and everything to
planters
kind of
and-
fill in
And
the
Presley's
holes.
nose
and-
just like
Yeah.
sticking through when he's like in the back.
Yeah, his head would
Trying
get
to,
stuck
get through
underneath,
stuff
and he
on
would
top.
be looking at you.
yeah.
But he would, if you were having a bad day, he was the first one that would come jump in your lap and lay down. He was
Yeah.
our 75-pound lap dog.
Yeah, sweetheart.
So that's tough.
I'm
You don't
in-
realize
rest in
like
peace.
sorry.
don't take your little pups or
Yeah.
people for granted
Yeah.
because
extra treats for everybody's.
yeah,
for-
extra
There you go.
nose
Give your pup an
scratches.
extra treat.
extra treats.
Yeah.
Do it for
Yeah.
Presley.
Yep.
Sorry to hear that, Wesley. That is
Yeah.
brutal, man.
Dude, I cried like a little kid
Yeah.
for the entire night.
Yeah.
I do not blame you at all. Losing
Yeah.
a dog is one of the hardest things. Well, I haven't had. I mean,
Dogs
I've been
and
to
mothers,
17
they should never
funerals
die.
in the last
They should
20
die.
years.
Dogs
Yeah.
and moms.
No, 17
And
funerals in the
cats.
last 20 years. haven't cried like that for any of them.
Yeah.
Family members, friends, nothing.
Yeah.
It was
I mean a lot to us.
Cole, so tell us, you've had some brutal struggles. I need to hear more about the.
Well, I wouldn't say, it's like
It's nothing
I
compared to.
don't want to be
obviously-
dramatic after hearing Wesley's dog died. Like,
No, but
I'm not saying it's brutal, but just learning. It's so hard to draw when you design it. When you're designing, you're trying to come up with simple shapes and moving concepts around and trying to mix and match things. And I'm sending them to you guys, seeing what you think.
right.
Well, I just hand draw everything. Like that's how I do. That's how I've always drawn. That's how I've always designed. And so doing it for us, I'm starting to like draw sketches and then upload them onto my computer and do a graphic design sort of using a little bit of graphic design to come up with images so I can look what looks good together. But it is so hard. Just there's so much to that.
the learning curve.
Yeah, and so it's just been frustrating to, like I got our entire logo done at one point to a point that I liked it, and I was going to send you guys a copy of it, so you can trace the whole logo when you have that sort of the image in there, so that then you can put colors in, et cetera, et cetera. And I traced the whole thing. And then I tried to move one character, and then the entire thing is just
Unselected.
jacked. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And then I'm trying to move, anchors around, et cetera, et cetera. It's just
It's frustrating.
So
yeah.
it's a lot of
like
learning.
learning a new language.
But I'm learning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It
it's-
gives you
it's-
so much
it's a beautiful
respect for
thing
the
at the other
people
side.
that do this for a living.
Absolutely.
You watch like an
Yeah.
ad and you see this
Oh yeah.
gorgeous
Oh my gosh.
three-dimensional.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, editing is so.
Zanabu's
Yeah.
like, oh, I can do that. No.
Yeah.
That's why we got him on the
3D
team.
modeling.
Yeah, he's gonna do it all.
Right.
Exactly.
Our new
Little-
editor.
Yep. Little shout out to Zanabu today for helping us out, run
Yeah.
the streams, and hopefully he'll be doing it some more. So enjoy that. And then beautiful.
Oh, the little guys on the internet.
Ah,
Never
that is so
underestimate folks with a computer and a
Ian smiling
vendetta
behind his
against
Shortstop.
the billionaires on
selling.
Wall Street.
Oh, it's so sweet.
Look, if you're gonna ever short a stock, don't
do
go
that
after
one.
the one that is close to nerdy folks' heart.
Right.
Right.
Like a
Yep.
childhood nostalgia point.
Or
Yeah.
It's not-
AMC, like theaters,
Right.
like these
So
kids love
so
that.
right now
Something good
we're
memories.
watching some cocky Wall Street billionaires
Assholes
that
on.
shorted, double shorted, and triple shorted.
140%
stocks.
on
And
GameStop.
That much.
Negative
Reddit,
140.
yeah, Reddit came together. They've lost, I think, $17 billion just on the GameStop stock.
GameStop was up to $470 a share at one point.
Right.
It is crazy.
But it's a bunch of kids
manipulation.
on the internet. Well, kids, adults, folks,
College
that
age,
put together their meager funds. Nobody had to sell a yacht to buy the stock,
Right.
and just saw that they were shorting.
Manipulated it.
And if we all buy, it's going to absolutely screw them.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're renting stock. Oh, I could break it down really quickly, but
Quickly, go
basically,
ahead.
you rent a stock at a certain price. If it drops, you then buy the stock and sell it back to the person you rented the stock from at that price, and you make the difference in that gap. But if in the time that you're holding that rented stock before you can sell it, it raises, you owe the dividend on that stock. And I mean,
Well,
an
there's-
entire
these
hedge
hedge
fund went bankrupt
That's how
because
they make the money, though. The beautiful thing about this is the whole market's bullshit. So
Right. Oh,
this
it's
is
fake-
just
fake money.
showing. It's
It's
showing
a big
how,
fucking casino for rich people.
It's showing that they're just manipulating it exactly as the Redditors have done in the last few days.
Right.
They're doing it to these elites in in
Right.
Washington, and
Who can afford
the
it?
insiders know.
Yeah.
So now it's okay. Well, we can't control who changes the information.
all of a
who
sudden
pushes
SEC
it
wants to add regulations,
And they
but
want-
they
and
won't.
they want regulations.
They won't because they know if they add regulations, it's
Right.
going to regulate themselves on the back end.
Right.
So they're
They
going to
can't
eat crow and
cheat
get
anymore.
Robin. So the crazy thing right now is that Robinhood stopped the ability to buy or trade
Yeah.
GameStop,
BlackBerry,
AMC,
GameStop,
Nokia, I
AMC,
Yeah.
Naked, a couple
Naked,
others.
yeah.
You can only sell. So if you sell, then it drives the price down, and the people that have the shorts that have still held on to them, lose less. So it's going to be an ongoing saga, but Oh, beautiful.
Wall
To
Street-
wake up for the last 3 mornings and watch the internet bros and sisses.
Making a little money on
The
that.
Wall Street
Wesley?
can't,
Yes.
it
Get in
can't
on
ever be
that?
the same.
And
It's
the
fun.
Wall Street people panic.
Short selling can't
Yeah.
ever be
Yeah.
the same anymore.
Nope.
Oh, they're
Betting-
so mad.
It's
They're so mad.
in a
Right.
great
Yeah.
way. It's
They still have
totally
a lot of
disrupted the
money.
market.
They still have plenty of money.
Yeah.
And they're going to be okay.
Just fine.
Yeah.
But Mark Cuban, I heard Mark Cuban talking about it. He's got probably billions of dollars in stocks, and he was like, "I love it, man. I hedge the shit out of my portfolio, but my son this morning made like money on a
Yeah.
stock because he's learning it too.
Yeah.
It's showing that
It's evolution.
the power's in the people, really.
Right. Yeah.
If
Right.
they put their mind, put things
Yeah.
together,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
why the internet's so scary.
Well,
Well,
and
and
that
it's-
is also why the new generation is so inspiring because they know that everybody else in advance has screwed it up bad enough that they better be way smarter.
It's
Right.
about time
Yeah.
that some wealth transferred from
Yeah.
the old
Right.
fuckers
Yeah.
gaming the system
Right.
to the younger
That's
folks.
exactly
kids.
what it is.
That's why,
Yeah.
Zanabu, we're counting on you, Buck.
Yeah,
So if
really.
you could just keep us up to speed with what the internet's doing and how the
Yeah.
world works,
Yeah.
we'll listen to you.
yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks.
Anything else beautiful to add before we sign off here? I think we got it covered.
Cases are dramatically dropping, and we're seeing a lot of recovering. in
Yeah.
Yeah,
COVID.
California kind of opened up. Oregon might be on the
35%
horizon.
drop off in cases this week
Awesome.
Wow.
nationally.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like to hear that.
It's
That's
almost
so-
as if there's
all right. Book your wine tours now with
Yeah.
Tour Cascadia.
Yeah. It's gonna
and
be booked up.
Black
You
Tie
better get
Tours.
them now.
I know you got to hurry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting calls for July, August,
Yeah.
September.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be
So-
it's
Yeah,
gonna be
your
wild. It's gonna be
phones
wild.
keep buzzing. Yeah.
Exactly.